Not the one that's on the left.
The ones from Tyrell Local?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seymour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my iPhone.
Right to the, right to your right. Cheryl fixed it so that she wrote it out that nobody else knows. Thank you. Right above that she wrote.
Say, hey. One, right? Huh? We were pounding them when I was.
How do you get to leave? You just leave.
Okay, at this time, I call to order the meeting of Monday, April 22nd, 2024. I ask all who have not signed in, please do so. On the back table, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices. Please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. This meeting room is equipped with the inductive loop hearing assistance. Emergency exits can be found on your right and to your left. This meeting is also live streamed via YouTube and text commenting available to the public. This time, if you please join the town board in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Well, good evening, welcome. I have a couple of important guests here with us this evening. And we have no public hearing scheduled. We'll get right into some announcements that I have. As we try to do at the end of every month is identify birthdays for the upcoming month. And we have 6 employees celebrating birthdays in the month of May, starting with Councilman Mike Guinan on May the 2nd. In May the 13th, Sandy Baxter, Dylan Reed on the 21st, Dana Snyder on the 22nd, Kimberly Reese on the 27th, and the 29th, Kathy Rayburn. Now, there'll be a parade on your birthday, so you know that. And on May the 2nd, on Councilman Guinan's birthday, will be the 18th Annual Business Awards Luncheon at Ravenwood. Okay, Michael? So that's your birthday present, okay? An early reminder on Mother's Day, please don't forget, Sunday the 12th. I also want to, at this time, I want to applaud. We had, in my understanding, Earth Day roadside cleanup on 3 different town roads, Lane Road, High Street, and Gillis Road this afternoon. And it's my understanding, we had 18 passionate employees there. So I want to thank all of them from a variety of departments for their giving on Earth Day. Moving to approval of meeting minutes, this would be from the April 8th Town Board meeting. Board members, any comments or concerns? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And at this time, we'll ask the town clerk, to introduce manifest number 8.
Manifest number 8 in the amount of $216,099.49 has been reviewed by the Victor Town Board with the following accounts charged. general townwide, general outside village, parkland trust fund, and highway townwide.
Thank you, Kim. And we'll start with payment number 1, and this is to, for the May rent for Parks and Recreation, the payment to Bluestone Creek. Payment number 2, Hometown Energy. Payment 3, Five Star Bank. Number 4, Jim Barnard Chevrolet, a new vehicle for the Stormwater Program Manager. Payment to Kempner Equipment, Highway Equipment and Supplies. Payment to MVP for May Health Insurance. NOCO Energy for diesel fuel, and then Thruway Springs for truck maintenance. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $160,620.12. Total town expenditures minus the previous mentioned expenditures equals $55,479,479.37. Questions on this evening's abstract? Looking for a motion to approve for the.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Privilege of the floor this evening, Mr. Marshall Hardy. Marshall, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
And I do want you to know that we were provided through the clerk's office the copy of the meeting minutes from the Conservation Board last Tuesday when you were out there. And board members also have your entire packet that was presented here today. And I think that's it. So I'll let you proceed, sir.
Okay. Well, I live at 7590 North Road on 36.3 acres, of which 18.15 are in a conservation easement. The existing conservation easements on the drawing up there are cross-hatched. Right now I live in the house that's right there. I'm an empty nester. I live there by myself. My family's all gone. And I'm looking to sell off the land around the house, approximately 9.6 acres, and build a new, much smaller home in the area between the two conservation districts. The lot that I'm going to build on would be 26.7 acres in size. The lot I'm selling off is 9.6. What I'm here tonight to ask is, I'd like to relocate Conservation District. I'd like to take the Conservation District. It's on the south side. Is this, let's see. Must be, my batteries may be dying. The Conservation District is the long rectangle that goes east-west. I'd like to take that, which is 8.6 acres, and move it over adjacent the 150-foot easement that's got the creek in it, Trout Brook. And I'd like to put it all on the north side of Trout Brook. When I do that, 2.6 acres of that 8 acres will go into the lot that I'm hoping to subdivide out with my home. It's not my intent to change the overall amount of land that's in the conservation easement. It will still be 18.15 acres between the two lots. You can see on this drawing where the conservation district is being relocated to. That's, for the purposes of this meeting, I think that's it.
I think it's pretty simple, and I do appreciate, I know the Conservation Board asked you questions about the driveway, and certainly you've indicated that it's not paved, and it's currently, let's see, gravel and millings, a combination of. So
The millings are only on the first part from North Road to the first driveway, which services Lot 3. And the rest of it is gravel all the way.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you following up with the various steps to get where we are this evening. And board members, any questions for Mr. Hardy? Any concerns?
I have no issue with this, and fortunate with my other line of work, I've been down your driveway a few times with the fire department there, and
It's probably one of the neatest areas of our town where you live there, and it's tremendously remote. It's not, I mean, I don't think that moving this around is going to have any impact at all on the surrounding area, so I have no issue with it at all.
I have no issue, I'm good.
Same here. I saw the presentation at both Conservation Board meetings, so it's nice.
Very good. I think next step is, I don't know if Keith, anything with your department, paperwork? Nope, we're good? Okay. Mr. Hardy?
Thank you.
Painless. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce our school superintendent, Mr. Tim Terranova, and Derek Felice from Victor Central School to review the budget forthcoming.
There we go. Keep going. There we go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Terranova, the proud superintendent of the Victor Central School District, and I brought the brains of the operation, Derek Felice, our assistant superintendent for business. I think this is one of the earliest times we've given a budget update to the town. It's April 22nd, about roughly 1 month before the budget vote, which is May 21st on a Tuesday. So we just wanted to give you a quick presentation of what we're looking at for next year. The board adopted the budget on April 11th, so we wanted to talk to you about a few of the details. So again, we'll talk a little bit about the goals of the budget, our final revenue and expenditure recommendations, and then the budget calendar. The state was late with the budget this year, as I think all of you know. So we found out Friday night, Saturday morning, how much state aid we were actually going to get, even though the board needed to adopt the budget before that based upon law. So we've been kind of flexing a little bit around those numbers, but we can talk a bit about that as well. It's always important to have goals and objectives, and these we read at every presentation. First, we want to make sure we continue to enhance the comprehensive and great education that the VCS district offers our community. We want to continue to improve our alignment. We created a five-year strategic plan. We're actually in the tail end of the second year of that 5-year strategic plan, so we want to make sure our resources are aligned with that plan. We certainly want to maintain the stabilization of our reserves, as well as maximize the use of every dollar spent. And then we also are trying hard, and Derek's done a great job to really maximize the ability to generate aid for future years. And of course, we want to be transparent about everything that we do related to the budget. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Felice, and he's going to, again, give a little update about the state and talk a little bit about our numbers.
So as Dr. Terranova mentioned, we adopted our budget on April 11th. Unfortunately, at the time, we did not have the state aid number. We had received the governor's proposal. We saw the Senate proposal and the Assembly's proposal. The Senate and the Assembly had a higher revenue number for all school districts, including Victor. So the way that the budget works is if you don't budget it, you can't spend it. So we took the approach that we were going to budget on the best case scenario, and if state aid came in less than what that number was, we would look at not spending the entire budget. So we're going to present the budget that was adopted, knowing that we did receive less state aid than originally anticipated. So some of these expenditures will not come to fruition, but this was the adopted budget. So when we were looking at when we were trying to build the budget, we were looking at 3 different scenarios. So projection 1 was the governor's run back in February. At that time, she was proposing to remove hold harmless, which was a decrease in aid based off of your enrollment over the last several years. Projection number 2 was if New York State was to reinstate CPI, so in the formula for foundation aid, one of the many variables to the foundation formula was the CPI index. It was 4.1 for last year. The governor came out and used 2.4% in the one proposal. In projected 1, in this one it would go to the 4.1 and reinstate hold harmless. Projected 3 was going to be the Assembly and the Senate's budget that was reinstating all of the CPI, all of the hold harmless, and giving the districts a 3% increase in foundation aid. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. New York State did reinstate hold harmless. They only increased CPI from 2.4 to 2.8% and provided 0 additional increase year to year. So these are the proposed positions that at the time the district was looking to add to the budget. Dr. Terranova is better versed in this area, so I'm going to let him share what positions we're looking at.
Thanks, Mr. Valise. So when the board adopted this budget, these were the positions that we were feeling were critically important. And it looks like a significant amount, but the majority of these positions are in special education. And the majority of those happen to be teacher assistants, but we do have some teachers that we need to add. So there's two real areas of focus moving forward. One is special education. We are continuing the development of what's called an integrated co-taught model, which is a different model of teaching students with disabilities than Victor's ever had before. This was the first year of the model. In order to extend that model through the secondary level, we need to add additional staff. What that does is allow our students with disabilities to have much more contact with grade level curriculum as they move through the junior high and the high school. Excuse me, we can focus a lot on the reading and writing and mathematics at the elementary level through the ICT model, but then we want to make sure our kids are exposed to grade level curriculum and courses that allow them to reach their full potential. That's what the ICT model does, but it does require more staffing in special education. The other piece to this is enrollment. We have a bump in enrollment next year at the intermediate level. We are actually looking at 17 sections of fifth grade, which is the most we've had in a long time, roughly 47 sections in the intermediate building alone. Now we have some reduction in some sections at the younger grades, but the total net is roughly 2.0, the enrollment, and then the 0.4 related to, which is really art, music, and phys ed to also support those the increase in students at that level. So really the main focus of our additions are enrollment and special education. We also want to add 5 building substitutes, which would allow us to have better flexibility around substitutes because it's a major issue in our district right now. Now, saying all that, some of this is going to actually be reduced because of the state aid numbers that we got this weekend. So we're not going to be able to spend that total amount because we want to stay within our financial structure and our financial strategy. So we're updating this update for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, Derek and I are doing a town hall on Facebook Live, and then we're going to do future budget presentations. So we're not going to be able to add all of these positions, but we are going to be able to add most of them and stay within the confines. We're certainly not breaking the tax cap. We're staying within the tax cap, and we're going to be able to afford most of these positions, but they are definitely important.
So as Dr. Terranova shared, and I've already shared, we did do our budget based on best case scenario, which would allow us to afford the new positions if state aid did come to fruition. Right now, we're going to work on deciding what positions we're actually going to go forward. We actually spent a lot of time with that today, but we have to give our time to update our board before we go with that presentation. Dr. Terranova is doing that currently, and we'll update the community tomorrow via Facebook Live. So our sources on this model would be, our state aid we'd be seeing a roughly 2.09% increase, $39 million. Again, this was what we used to do the budget. We actually didn't end up getting all that money. We actually only saw about a 0.09. But because the board adopted the budget, in order to maintain a balanced budget, we're going forward with this revenue number, knowing that we're not going to receive it all, therefore we won't spend it all. But that was the revenue that we used to establish the budget. In total, we're looking for the community to adopt a $103 million budget, with the large share coming from the local community, the tax levy, pilot payments, et cetera, followed by our state sources, which is our state aid, and then our federal sources is Medicaid. As we provide Medicaid services, we bill back to the federal government, and we get aid in lieu of that. So in total, that's where all of our revenues come over. In total, we're looking at a budgetary increase of 4.35% or $4.3 million. Expenditures. Our largest expenditure is our staff. It makes up roughly 80% of our staff between professional salaries, support salaries, and fringe benefits. Other than that, we stayed pretty neutral in everything: equipment, supplies, material, contractual. You will see us moving amongst those codes, but there was a 0% increase except for equipment. We did do a one-time increase for interest revenue to make a one-time purchase to upgrade our bus camera system. It's been failing us. So our philosophy is when you get a one-time unsustainable revenue, you use it for a one-time expenditure, so then you don't have ebbs and flows in our tax levy or staffing purposes. So you will see overall in those other codes an increase of $350,000 related to that bus camera system. Our debt is what it is. It's based off of prior capital projects, also our bus purchase. And then interfund is just an expense that's part of our summer school program. In total, just like their revenue, we're looking at $103 million, which is a $4.3 million increase, or 4.35%. Before I go forward, that was a lot of information. Do you have any questions for us?
I have no questions.
Great. So, budget to budget, you see that 4.3 increase. Our levy is increasing 4.43, which is a change of $2.489 million. We just do an estimated rate to rate increase. Part of this rate increase is we use the assessed values used to calculate this year's taxes. And then as part of the property tax calculation, the state gives us what's called a tax-based growth factor. So we increase the assessments in this year's calculations based off of that. I think it was a 1.3% increase. We made that slight adjustment. Due to that adjustment, we're projecting that our tax rate will be 14.46%, which is a 40 cent per $1,000 or 2.82%. Historically, we've always been conservative on that estimate because, as you know, amongst our community, there's a lot of growth that's going on that's increasing assessed values. And right now, equalization rates are going all over the place due to the market. So historically, we've always been a little high in that number. We do expect that when we adopt our rate in August, that it will be lower than 14.46. So our conservative estimate is 14.46. So if you were to look at your own property value, here's a rough estimate of what your projected tax will be for those properties. I do want to caveat that this is not including any star exemptions. If, depending on how you get it, you may get the reduction right off your tax bill, or you will get a check. This is the net of that. And then we also add that disclaimer that this is subject to change as tax rolls are not finalized until June 30th. Another piece of information we like to share, this is our tax rate history from 2000 to 2024. And as you can see, we've been on a downward trend with a big dip from last year to this year. And although we are expecting an increase for next year, we're not positive at this time, but that is our history of our tax rate. So our next step is continuing to finalize our personnel for next year based off of this revised state aid number. We got to put our students first, and that's where our priorities will be, making sure that we service our students to the maximum ability that we can. And then once we get that plan finalized, we plan on communicating it, such as Facebook Live and future board meetings. So just an update, on May 7th is our budget hearing. It's required 7 to 14 days before our budget vote. We're doing it 14 days before our vote. Also at this time, it's Meet the Candidates Night, sponsored by the PTSA and PI. Because we do have voter registration, we do offer voter registration in district office on May 14th for any community member who may not be registered to vote at this time. And then in the ECS boardroom on Tuesday, May 21st is our budget vote and Board of Education election.
As well as a chicken barbecue, right?
It's
Yeah, there's a lot going on the 21st.
Cares Carnival as well.
Yeah.
And I think, do we know what time the hearing starts? I think the hearing starts at 6:30, doesn't it?
I believe so, yes.
The hearing will start at 6:30 on Tuesday, May 7th. And then today at 5 o'clock was the official time for the board members to be able to apply to be board members and hand in their petitions. So we have Elizabeth Mitchell, who handed in a petition. She's a current board member. Adam Snyder has turned in his petition. He's a current board member. And Carol Prescott has also turned in her petition to run for the board. There's 2 openings for the next year, 2 3-year terms. So there's 3 people running for 2 openings, 2 incumbents, and then Carol. as I said at the beginning, you know, we're going to be as transparent as possible. We have the town hall, it's a Facebook town hall on our Facebook site tomorrow night at 6:30. But Derek and I we're going to have some updated slides around specific increases in the staffing and the relationship with state aid. We're going to have presentations to the Kiwanis and to the Rotary in the town of Farmington, and certainly the budget hearing on May 7th. I would also encourage people to go to our website, victorschools.org. You'll see the budget section right at the front, so that we'll have all the information that we can possibly have in a coherent way right on that part of the website, so people can have questions, and certainly they can call me or email me if they have questions as well. Any questions from the town board regarding the budget?
No, I know I kind of threw you a curveball, because originally I think you were coming in May 13th, and so you came in tonight. So I know you've been waiting on the state budget to be approved, and so you pivoted nicely, and we understand. And certainly, as you mentioned, you had putting it out in all the social media networks to get that message out there. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Otherwise,
What does PIE stand for?
The which one?
PIE, next to PTSA?
Oh, yeah, that's our parents, what's the, parents and education, I believe. I might be messing up the acronym. But, so PTSA is the general PTSA.
Yep.
And then you have a group of parents that were really focused on making sure all kids are challenged appropriately.
Okay.
That's the PIE group.
Yep.
Which does a great job because they talk about different experiences that kids can have and work with the school to make sure, you know, all students are challenged at an appropriate level. And then we have another group called VOICE. Don't ask me exactly what that stands for, but that's for, more specifically, for parents of students with disabilities, to really make sure they have advocates right within the PTSA. So two groups, PIE and VOICE, and then they're all related to the PTSA.
Perfect, thank you.
any other questions?
Jim, you mentioned the bulge at 5th grade next year, the
Yes.
added sections. How's our overall enrollment looking? How's it stacked?
So it's relatively flat for the past 5 to 6 years, maybe 7 years. And then as we actually did a full enrollment study last year. So it's looking like it's going to be relatively flat. We may have a little bit of an increase next year, but it's supposed to stay flat. Our kindergarten classes the last couple of years have been in the low 300s, and that has sort of stabilized the big sections that are right now flowing through the intermediate school. So I would say we're definitely not decreasing enrollment, but we're predicted to be right around, with pre-K, we have right around 4,300 students, and we're predicting to be right about that for the next number of years. We do have to keep an eye, because what happened this year was we had a big increase in new entrants in 4th grade. And that was greater than the average new entrants. And so there was a big bubble at 4th grade, which is what's causing the blip in 5th grade next year. That's something we're still trying to figure out where that came from, but we have to be prepared. We've got a lot of connections to Victor and Farmington. I just saw Peter Inglesby Sunday and talked to him about it. It's still, even though with all the housing that's increasing in Farmington, it's not showing really comparable increase in student enrollment for us. So right now it's flat.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
The only question I had, I think, was kind of addressed with the last question, but, you know, we look at the proposals, Victor Heights Parkway, we had a proposal last meeting for a potential 4-story multi-building project. The Highline project's underway. We have Valentine Woods up off of Valentine on High Point. So I think of like especially the apartments, because you open an apartment facility for rental and you have a tremendous influx in children. And I remember asking the similar question last year, and you provided a very similar answer. So those proposed projects, obviously you guys have your, your finger on the pulse of those projects, but they still don't create any cause for concern for you guys.
Not at this point, but you're right. If something's going to happen, it'll be an increase, most likely not a decrease. What we heard from the group that helped us with our enrollment study were two things. One, lots of people are moving within the community of the Victor Central School District, so they might be moving from one house to another, but it's a lot of it is in the same school district, our school district, and just the fact that families have less kids in them than they were 20 years ago. So, it used to be families of 3, 4, and 5. Now it's families of 1, 2, and maybe 3 kids. That has made a made a difference in terms of flattening everything out. But at the same time, we have to really focus on that every year and keep our connections, because you never know where another bubble might happen, and we just have to be prepared, which is a whole other situation because our space is limited, as people know. We have one campus, 5 big buildings, lots of people in each of those buildings, which is why we're continuing to talk about our next capital project, and we'll be having a conversation about that after the budget vote. But our space is one of the things that concerns us, not because we're worried about adding 200 or 300 kids, it's because the space right now is extremely tight for the number of kids that we have currently. So, not to get on a
thank
tangent, but.
You know what the average teacher-to-child ratio in a classroom is?
Yeah, so we try to, at the younger grades, stay smaller. So our goals are to stay within 17 to 19 kids between kindergarten and, say, second grade. And then we have somewhere between 19 and 21 in third grade and fourth, and then 21 to 23 kids for fifth and sixth grade. And we still like to stay, it gets a little more there's more fluctuation when you get from 7 to 12. So the goal at the secondary level is to stay under 25 as much as possible. But it's a little tricky at the junior high because you have teaming models, which, you know, you might have one class of 24 kids and one class of 15 kids because of the way we team. And of course, if you're going to have a one-section class at the high school, there might be 12 kids in one, and we might have another section class of 29 in AP US history. So that's where we get some fluctuations, but K-6, we want to keep it at 23 or under, and K through 2, we really want to keep it in the 2021, and preferably at the early childhood school, 17 to 19.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate your time here. And good
Welcome.
luck
Thanks
to
for
you.
having us. Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, next, public comments and concerns.
Hello, Randy Shea, 50 West Main Street, Victor, New York. I know last year we put in the monument out front, and the town and the village did an awesome job working together. I saw the mayor was here tonight, and the work, especially with John Turner stepping up and stepping in. I really think that if it hadn't been for the village crew, it would not have been possible. So it was very good to see the town and the village work together to get that accomplished. As you know, the electric was out for maybe 2 years, 3 years, because the electricity that was run wasn't done right originally, and then there was no lights on the flags at night. So the new lighting is also really awesome. That was something that I think it was in the presentation I made originally that the town would take care of, and I think that's what ended up happening. What was supposed to happen with the cement slab was the village was going to put it in, but it was actually the American Legion that was going to pay for it. I know how it worked out. It ended up being, the town ended up paying for the village for that. I don't know exactly the whole details on that, but I know that wasn't really originally the way it was supposed to go when I was the coordinator. What I did notice is, and I put a video out, and I think y'all have seen it, about some people think the flags are important that are out front. Maybe not everybody in the community, but as far as the 2 different size poles, I think the problem has always been that the American flag is supposed to be on its own right, which when you're facing out away from the building, that's on the right. But when you're facing the building, it's on the left. So there's always been some confusion. The poles were put back in the way they were originally in, but now that the monument is facing out and the building is that way, the flag is on the right, but it's on the lower flagpole. The New York State flag is on the taller flagpole, and it's been said that that was going to be fixed, but it still hasn't. And so I don't think it looks good. I mean, all the work that everybody compliments how much better it looks up front, but the fact that the flagpoles are still not fixed I heard that it was probably going to be 6,000 or 7,000 if we wanted to get the same size flagpole, so that there were two of the same size. The New York State flag would always fly a little lower, but it would just look nicer. And I talked to Richard O'Donnell today, and he said the capital fund has about 10 million in it. I would think 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 to make sure that the front of the building looks good. Shouldn't really be a big expenditure. I really would hope that you would consider it strongly for those of us who do think that flags are important. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay. Under reports of town officials, we have reports from economic development, town engineer, highway. Some great things going on. Casey's involved with the, probably at some point, she's going to attend a summit for organics, and maybe at some point we can get Casey to present here to the town board. And at this time, we're going to turn it over to Parks and Rec and Mr. Brian Emelson for special recognition.
Thank you, Jack. Brian Emelson, Director of Parks and Recreation. This is an awesome thing for us to be able to do, because it really speaks to the town of Victor and all the community organizations that really make up the body of what makes us so special. So, Mayor, could you come on up? You can't look at my stuff. This is my time. I'm in charge tonight, okay? You're 364 days a year, you can be in charge. This is my time here, okay, for a minute. Okay. In her almost 2 decades of service to the Victor community as a volunteer with the Victor Garden Club, Mary Dupre has managed and led a variety of civic beautification projects in the town and village of Victor. Most notably, the flower bed design, the flower and plant selection processes, the annual planting days, the maintenance support, grant writing, budgeting, and as the club liaison between the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Village Department of Public Works. These areas include the Four Corners of Victor, which is at the Route 96 and Main Street Fishers intersection, the Village Hall, the Town Hall, the Rawson Road Highway Recycle and Park Maintenance Facilities Complex, and Mead Square Park, as well as the numerous hanging baskets and pots that adorn Main Street Victor and the New York State Route 96 corridor. In addition, Mary has served numerous terms as Garden Club president, co-president, as well as Victor's representative on the executive board of the New York State 7th District of the Federated Garden Clubs. Things that you may know about Mary, or Grandma. She's passionate about the Victor community. Mary has brought several of her personal and professional experiences from the previous communities in which she's lived and traveled to make our community better. Mary is always looking for ways to improve the quality of life of our residents through the magic of flowers. Mary is a visionary. Mary understood that the annual plant sale that was held for several decades in the community at the library, I think it was on the first Saturday of May, as I recall, which was the club's major fundraiser, was extremely laborious on the members of the garden club and needed a boost. Mary and her allies came up with the concept of the Victor Garden Club Flower Pot Fundraiser, which sells out annually and has become one of the largest community fundraising efforts of all garden clubs in our area. On Flower Pot Pickup Day, Mary can be found scurrying around the parking lot at the rec center, hauling pots, greeting people, and making the day fun and appreciated. Always remembering everyone's name. And this could be 300 plus different people coming to pick up flower pots. Always remembering everyone's name and making a personal connection with them to thank them for their support. Imagine taking a large mirror the size of a parking lot and putting an ice cube on it and just watching it move around the mirror effortlessly. And Mary does this year after year after year. Mary came up with the concept of the Welcome to Victor Gateway sign that adorns the landscape beds at the four corners of New York State Route 96 and Main Street Fishers. To see this project come to reality meant Mary spent numerous days meeting with me and the New York State Department of Transportation officials, all behind the scenes, winning their support, working with me on the classic design of the sign with its signature and stately V, and single-handedly raising $6,000 for the purchase of the sign. So those are some things you may know, or you at least know now. Some things you need to know about Mary. She's a wife to Dan, mother of two to Danny and Patty, grandmother to 6, a former educator, a wonderful friend, a former avid runner, now an avid walker that can be often be found charging up Willis Hill Road, along Dryer Road, on our daily jaunts, waving to neighbors, visitors, and passers-by. In fact, many of the plans that Mary and I have discussed or hatched have been on one of her daily outings. Mary is the first person to come on the annual flower planting day on that last Tuesday in May. And she's the last person to leave. Often going back out after a long day at Four Corners or a town hall, late into the evening, and I can verify this with text messages, late into the evening, to check our day's work, spruce things up a bit, and give it a little more of Mary's touch. I recall one particular year when it was cool out, pouring rain, and 2 of our seasonal employees looked at me after about 45 minutes of work and asked to stop and come back another day. I pointed to them to look over at Mary, hands and knees buried in the dirt, surrounded by flats of flowers, hand digging away, and said, "You want to tell her?" Needless to say, we toughed it out, and I'm comfortable in saying that we all grew more than the flowers that day. Mary wants a lake in Victor. And damn it, if anyone has the determination and work ethic to get that done, it's Mary Dupre. Mary is the first person to reach out to you when you have a child in the hospital after a tough surgery, stops by your office with a beautiful necklace and charm for her, a plate of sweets, a kind word, and caring support. Over and over and over again, Mary's been in my corner, our Department of Parks and Recreation's corner, and most importantly, the Victor Community's corner, working hard, raising the bar, and challenging all of us to be better. So it's one of my greatest pleasures to honor Mary Dupre tonight and thank her family and friends for sharing her with us for so many years and making Victor a special place to live and visit. And now I'll turn it over to Jack for some of his remarks, because he's been instrumental in codifying this relationship with Mary and I and making sure all these things that people think just happen. And all the behind-the-scenes work and all the behind-the-scenes stories that go to make this a wonderful place. Okay?
Brian, thank you, and certainly speaking from the heart for certainly a well-deserving individual. How many individuals from the Garden Club here today? Well, please hold your hands up high. Thank you very much for what you've done, and certainly working with Mary. And I see her husband's moved over here, but I've probably known Dan as long as I've known Mary. And a couple things. I remember once mentioning to Dan, you evidently were at the Niagara on the Lake recently. Yeah, well, how'd you know, Jack? Mary came back with a new vision for Victor. The lake in Victor, yes, I do recall that. I was trying to visualize it. She was losing me, but I tried to follow you, Mary. Then there was along if you were coming from Rochester, got off the 490, there's a nice hill right there, and Mary visualized seeing Welcome to Victor there as well. Brian is correct. You are truly a visionary, very passionate about what you do. I had to chuckle when Brian mentioned meeting with New York State officials for the Welcome to Victor. Those officials didn't stand a chance, in my opinion. Because the word no isn't really in your vocabulary much. So, again, Mary, your value to this community, both within the village and the town, and certainly your collaboration with Brian and John Turner, very beyond words. So we can't thank you enough, and I know Brian has a special plaque for you and certainly your family. You and your family are always attending village and town events, so we really appreciate it, and certainly your love for this community. You've embraced it, and hopefully we've embraced you as well, so thank you.
Well, I'm just going to read this, and Mary said she wants to say a few things. The Town of Victor, New York, presented to Mary Dupre, Victor Garden Club, in recognition of your leadership and commitment to the numerous civic beautification activities throughout our community. April 22nd, 2024.
Thank you so much. So much, Brian. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, darling. Wow. It's hard to come up with words after that. I thank all of you so much. Thank you, Jack Marin. Thank you so much to the board, to the town board. Especially thank you so much to Brian Emerson, and thank you to the Victor Garden Club for supporting all the projects that we've always worked on. Thank you to the 7th District Garden Clubs of New York State. Our president is here, our district director. I wrote a lot of grants on behalf of the club, and a lot of that money was given to us from the district to share in some of these projects. So everyone combined has made this effort worthwhile, a big project that we're all proud of, and I'm just so happy and glad to be part of this team of working together. Jack and Brian are the epitome of professionalism and sharing the vision of Victor Garden Club and my vision, well, except for the lake, but there's still time for that. And I have not shared that with the club, so because I had a no from them. And the reason is because most of the other towns that have a lot of things to offer have either a lake or a canal or something else, and we want it to be part of that. We want people to come to Victor, enjoy the beauty that we have in every which way that we have it. And we've been working hard, and Brian's helping me to do that, and somewhere down the line, it might still happen. So, see, I still haven't taken no. But I thank you so much for everything and for the partnership and collaboration. But I really want to say something just about Brian because, and Jack, thank you so much for sharing the vision, standing behind us all the time. But I really want to say a lot about Brian because he is the utmost, the truest professional. He sacrifices his time. We talk on the weekends. any time that's a personal time, and he makes time to do that. And I think it goes both ways, and that's why things move the way they move. He's very organized. He's very heartfelt, very honest. He is so devoted to the projects that he works on, and he's a caring, caring, caring soul. And he cares about this town very, very greatly and cares about all of us. So I think we're very lucky to have him be part of Victor Garden, be part of his town, and all that he does for our town here. And I'm so proud to be part of all of that. In the banking of Victor Garden Club, they're wonderful ladies, and we couldn't do any better or more than we've been doing, except for the hillside sign and for the lake. But we will get to that. So, thank you so much, and I also want to thank my family. They've really been just wonderful for the sacrifices I've made for time-wise, like Brian's family time-wise. I just want to thank you very much. Again, I'm so proud to be receiving this award.
And Mary,
Thank you.
before you leave the podium, I actually want to afford our mayor, Gary Haddon is with us this evening, and maybe our village mayor would like to, certainly you've done a lot of work working with his staff as well. Maybe he would like to offer a few complimentary comments as well.
Gary, thank you so much.
I don't know how I follow that or what comments I can make that would make an impact, but we feel the same way in the village that you feel in the town, because so much of what Mary's done has been in the village. And I can tell you, I've had a few conversations with Mary and tried to make the time. I don't do it as well as Brian does, but I respect her for the same reasons that you all do. She is a visionary, but she's also a hard worker. She follows through, and she organizes an event like this. Reminds me of Drew. Drew is the same way, and Brian. But the village of Victor, you know, she says we don't have a lake, we don't have a canal. That's true, yet we don't have one. But we do have one of the prettiest main streets with those flower baskets and at the town's entrance signs that any community that I've been to anywhere, and that includes Niagara. I think that what she's done for the village in that department just is irreplaceable. And John Turner can be kind of rough around the edges to work with, but Mary's found a way to pull him into the fold, and that makes it work for the village as well as the town. So, Mary, congratulations to you, and I would echo to your family, congratulations to all of you, because you have a very special person here. I know I don't have to tell you that, and the smiles on the granddaughters' faces tell it all, I think, about what kind of person Mary really is. So congratulations, Mary, and thank you on behalf of the Village of Victor.
Oh, Gary, thank you so much. Wow, thank you so much, Gary. And you know what? I feel the same about the village. When we first started on these projects, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago, close to whatever, 20 years ago it was, trying to get money and so on to get the pots bought. And all the businesses in the round table came together and they all bought a pot and the flowers. Do you remember all this, Jack? And we're trying to figure out how to get this done. And remember, Brian? And everyone came together and we did it. And little by little, we've been doing it through donations of the district and Victor Garden Club, and we've made it happen. It was supposed to be, but we can do even more. So thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations again to you and your family and the members of the Garden Club. And Brian, job well done.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks, everybody, for being here for Mary.
I don't know if I've said, did I say thank you to your wife and your family, Brian, for all the sacrifices that you've given over all the years? Thank you so much.
She refers to her as my work wife. Last night when I was working on it, I said, well, we're recognizing Mary tonight. Oh, you mean your work wife?
Okay, I do have a few items. I want to certainly recognize and thank The members of our Department of Parks and Rec, our village DPW, Brian Emelson, certainly this past Saturday, Arbor Day event over at Harlan Fisher Park. I thought it was a very good turnout of individuals. Mayor Haddon was there with 2 of his village trustees, members of the tree board, Victor Hiking Trails, Victor Central School students, and Boy Scouts, as well as Kitty Van Bortle. Certainly has been very generous in the past, and certainly can't thank her enough. I also attended a memorial service, unfortunately last Friday, for past town board member John Palamaki. John passed away on April the 14th. John was instrumental in the creation of the town swap shop. And board members, in your mailboxes was an assortment of reports and other communications. In addition, in your mailbox was a large, significant amount of print, and it has to do with mailing of the town newsletter. There's been conversations from a number of board members interested in us revisiting this, whether or not something we want to continue to utilize the online only or mail it. There are costs for printing, certainly costs to mail. Parks and Recreation, for the Parks and Rec, for their recreational activities, they prefer to just continue online. There are members of the staff there that feel we might be missing some of our senior population, maybe another part of our population, but overall they are fine with continuing to use the online. So board members gave you a lot to read, and certainly would love feedback, if not this evening, but moving forward, because whether or not we should do a full-blown RFP or have Ms. Susie continue to look for this. Again, the numbers you see goes back to 2019. This was the last time we pulled the plug right during the pandemic, but certainly the cost of postage has gone up, certainly material and printing, things of that nature. So if you have any comments tonight, great. If not, please, we really do want your feedback, because I don't want to get into August and September in the budget cycle and then have to make some decisions then, rather get going here in the next 30 to 60 days. So. And that's all I have. Board members.
On the printing stuff here from Susie, this was really awesome. I read through it after I picked up my packet on Friday. One of the more interesting ones is definitely comparing us to Harrington, because it looked like they also have a sizable newsletter. I'm not sure how, and like Supervisor Marin said, how we want to kind of go forward with it. And one ideas I had was, as I was talking to people about the people in the community, as well as the board, about the actual newsletter itself, is, do we want to keep it this large? Do we want to try and size it down? How maybe everybody felt about it, or do something along those lines about how we move forward with it.
Yes, because there are other communities, to your point about, making it smaller.
Yeah.
Our neighbor to the east, Farmington, they have a smaller version. Certainly, we have been the opportunity for some of our civic groups, our fire departments, Victor Hiking Trails, ambulance, things of that nature, to also message our community as well. So, I mean, if we were to minimize the print, certainly, we would have to make some decisions on, do we offer them coverage or not, things of that nature. So looking for feedback, and again, not necessarily this evening, but would really want to get moving on this no later than 45 to 60 days.
Just to give a quick comment, Supervisor, I'm a supporter of sending this out in print. I think that it hits a much larger audience, but I just wanted to make that quick comment and let you know I'll follow up with a correspondence to you in the near future to give you some specific thoughts I have on how we can hopefully accomplish this at a better price.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Board members, an opportunity to report on any liaison responsibilities you may have.
Only one comment, Supervisor. In the notes, as far as reports from our emergency service agencies around the town, I noted in Victor Farmington, as we all know, they've been working with us. We have 4 AEDs placed for town parks, but also town-wide at large, they have 20 AEDs placed from their program this year around town. I think that is to be commended. It's a tremendous program. And to add 20 AEDs to the town of Victor that were not here last year is eventually going to save a life, no questions asked. So it's a tremendous program.
Yep, we're going to get some quotes on electric and then get moving on that in the near future. Right now, a lot of, as we know, the focus has been on the Parks Department is the dog park, and it's kind of been all hands on deck for that. So, anything else?
Attended the last conservation board meeting. I sent everybody an update somewhat on that because we had the 7200 Rawson Road project come in for their step 2. And unfortunately, no one from the project was able to attend, and the conservation board did have some questions before they went to approve it. And then in addition, I know there were some residents that had some questions, but conservation board did have questions on their own. Was not able to attend the village meeting. I was feeling a little under the weather that night last week, but I did send a update over to Mayor Haddon. We had our first solar task force meeting last week, and we'll be having another one this Thursday. I think it went really well, probably better than I expected. There were a few things that we discussed as we're looking to take a look at the code better in regards to where/zoning, risk management, protecting residential and primary use solar, so people can still use that to power their own homes and businesses, decommissioning, panel recycling, who has the final approval, pilot agreements, fee structure, and addressing battery storage at the recommendation of the county planning board when we sent the moratorium to them to look at. One of the comments they had was taking a look at battery storage and incorporating it into our code as well. And then we have another meeting coming up this Thursday. We'll be hearing from someone from the town of Canandaigua who they just went through the same process with overhauling their solar code, and she was very much instrumental in that, so she'll be coming to kind of present and tell us a little bit about what their process was, how they went through all of that. And then last thing that the supervisor didn't mention, but I thought was great, was that I got an email from, I think it was Brian, yes, about changing tables. And so we'll be getting baby changing table stations. I think it's before November or something like that. Sometime this year, which is very exciting. I've talked to a lot of people at parks, neighbors, et cetera, that have babies. They walk a lot of the times to the park, and it's very hard when there's no place to change their baby. If it's in a car, it's one thing, but, you know, when you're out in public, it's a little bit hard to do that. So they're walking back to their homes. And then I'll also be meeting with Mike in Parks and Rec, as well as Nita with, I forget the organization, Access, right? It's like Mobility Access. Oh.
Nita O'Brien with Rochester Accessible Adventures, who's one of our partners in inclusion.
Yep, to talk about the possibility of doing adult changing tables for people who have developmental disabilities and need to be changed in that way. And other than that, I don't have anything, but a big thank you to Parks and Supervisor Marin on the changing tables. Thank you.
And just one final thing on the solar, the town of Farmington, our town clerk had submitted or circulated some correspondence from the town of Farmington, so please share that with your task force members
Yes.
as well here.
Got it. I don't know if now is the time for questions, but I did have a question on one of the reports from engineering from Labella. I saw on there, Wes, under the Eastview Mall area zoning, it was massing renderings provided to town supervisor by M. Kakufka. What are massing renderings?
So the massing renderings are simply a graphic that can depict the size of buildings, not necessarily the details of the architectural feature,
Okay.
but just the mass of the building, the height, the width, and the depth of the building. Like for an addition, or for contemplating, a development on a particular site. It just shows the scale of the building, and that's it. Very generic.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have copies of all that and yet to share it publicly because want to certainly cloud what's been going on as far as the mall and the decision made by the Fourth Appellate Court. So we will have that to share publicly at some point.
Okay, I just didn't know what that meant. That's all.
Other board members, we're good? Moving to resolution number 1, authorization to accept funds associated with the clean energy community. This is $5,000.
So moved.
Second.
I had a question on this one before we vote on it. I know it says to accept money offset purchasing, converting of streetlights to LED infrastructures. And wanted to also see, because I noticed in Casey's report on recycling that we were just looking at the possibility of utilizing these funds towards LED lighting conversions. So wasn't sure if are we accepting it for like a specific lighting district or? Okay. So does it just go to the general fund then? Yep. Okay. And then for what we're doing. Okay. Perfect. That's all.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 2, authorization for the purchase of playground safety surfacing materials for park operations. And the vendor of choice, if we're supported, would be Bears Playgrounds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, agreement with Toshiba Business Solutions for the Parks and Rec Department for the next 63 months.
So moved.
Second.
Before we go on, I had another question. For Toshiba Business Solutions, is that who we use for all other, as our vendor for like other printing in town hall or maybe town courts? I just figured it's probably cheaper if we do it all through one. You know? For all-
Put the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use Toshiba throughout the municipal facilities.
Okay, so it's just like,
Printing we do with different local print shops
Yeah.
for posters and for specific signage that
Yeah.
we might use. We'll bid that out. But this is just for the copier in our rec center.
okay. So is it then just, like, do we have different contracts for each building?
Do,
Okay.
depending on where they fall and how old they are and so forth.
Okay.
We piggyback off the Ontario County contract,
Oh, nice.
very good price.
Thank you.
One more thing I'll add, this resolution that you're reviewing is, this, the actual cost of the new machine is going to be $33.59 less per month than the previous machine that we have. So there is a net savings as well.
Nice. Good.
Resolution number 4.
Oh, we didn't vote.
Vote on it.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry, that was
Okay. Okay.
we had, sorry.
We have a first, a second?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Purchase of the 2024 Chevy Colorado.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, the adoption of the local law 5, imposing a 6-month moratorium on the review, approval, permitting, and construction of large-scale solar energy systems in the town of Victor.
So moved.
Second, and, sorry, before we vote, okay. I just had one question for Keith. I know at the last town board meeting, developer in one of the projects had mentioned changing that. Have we gotten that yet, or pulling it, et cetera?
No, like I emailed you earlier, they have not pulled it, and we have not seen the.
Okay, thank you. Ready, roll call?
Okay, roll call vote. Supervisor Marin?
Yes.
Councilman Guinan?
Yes.
Councilman Kuzmano?
Yes.
Councilman Condon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ogra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Public comments. Opportunity for members of the public to address the town board.
Hello. Good evening to the board. My name's Victor Chacha, I'm representing Norbert Solar Farms. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I just wanted to address our Victor 2 facility. I know that Sean, also from Norbert, was here at the last meeting. It is our intention to pull that facility back significantly. We just felt that in light of the fact that the town is going into moratorium, it would make more sense to make those changes in tandem with the drafting of the new legislation, as opposed to completing a redesign now and submitting it a few days ahead of a moratorium being passed. So I just wanted to give those brief comments.
Okay?
So, when you say you're significantly pulling back, you're still going to have an application at some point? You want an application in the second facility? Because previous meeting, it seemed to be impressed upon the town board that that one was being pulled.
Right, and I apologize if there was any sort of miscommunication. Our hope would be to still move forward with that facility, obviously, under the understanding that you know, the town weighs their desire to have solar with any impacts that it might have to the community. But when we say pulling it back, we don't mean figuratively, we meant literally moving the panels away from areas where it might impact surrounding
Yeah, there was
landowners.
just some misunderstanding by certain town board members of the planning department.
Certainly, and I apologize if we were unclear at all.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presence and the clarification. Any other public comment?
I have one more comment. There's a little reception upstairs in Jack's conference room for Mary. If you have a chance to stop up, I'm sure she would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, motion to adjourn then.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We got a meeting tomorrow?
We have a meeting.